in order to hold power, Republicans understand that they have to prevent people who are likely to vote against them from voting. And because one of the principal underpinning principles, one of the main underpinning principles of the GOP today is white supremacy. The primary imperative is to stop principally black people from voting in cities. When you look at red states, what you find, where the huge voting purges are going on. We saw this in Ohio. In fact, they took it to the Supreme Court. You see it in Florida. You see it in Texas. You see it in Louisiana. You see it all over the place in these red states. When they're doing their voter purges, when they're purging millions, tens of millions of people off the voting rolls, most of those purges are happening in the cities, in the blue cities, and largely among the black and Hispanic populations. And Ron DeSantis knows this better than anybody. Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and basically right across the board, all across them. So down in Florida now, the Tallahassee Democrat, there's a newspaper, reports that Florida resident Marcia Irvin, a 69-year-old black Florida woman, has been arrested and charged with illegally voting. Now, she was on parole for a 2016 conviction. It was for aggravated neglect. Right. But she was on parole. So under the Florida law, and this goes, by the way, this goes back to the end of Reconstruction, where many of these southern states passed laws saying that if you've been convicted of a crime, you may not ever vote again for the rest of your life. And then they would arrest people, black people, and convict them of minor crimes so that they could no longer vote. The good citizens of Florida got together and put a ballot initiative on the ballot, got hundreds of thousands of signatures on the petitions, got it on the ballot. It was overwhelmingly voted and supported to end this policy so that as long as you're out of jail, you can vote. And the Republican legislature then came in and said, okay, we're going to add a whole brand new law that says if you're a felon and you're on parole, and you haven't paid any of the fines that you owe, any government that you owe money to, which could be an old traffic ticket that you don't even know about, then it's a crime for you to vote. And apparently she owed somebody something because they arrested her. And she's fighting back. She's saying that the state sent me an official registration card. They sent her a solicitation to register to vote. And this was after the election where felons got the right to vote back. So this is going to be interesting. Ben Crump is representing her, the famous civil rights attorney. And he said this week that the arrests were made, these so-called arrests for voter fraud, or arrests for so-called voter fraud. He said this is about instilling fear in people in our community to say, well, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm not going to come and vote. And he is absolutely right. In fact, after Ron DeSantis, when he was running for re-election a couple of years ago, and he arrested those, I believe it was 12 or 15 black people and paraded them in front of the cameras, the black vote in Florida collapsed. It dropped dramatically in that next election when Ron DeSantis was up for re-election. And he's doing it again. He's doing it right. He did it this week.